How's it going, my confident bakers? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'll show you how to make cheesy cold-proof breakfast buns. So let's get in the kitchen and get started. It's been a while since I've made any type of cold-proofed bread, but you already know how much I love cold fermentation. There are two types of cold fermentation: cold bulk fermentation and cold proofing. Bulk fermentation is what we usually do when we mix the dough and throw it in the fridge. It is then shaped, proofed and baked on the following day. Cold proofing, however, is when you shape the dough and then leave it to proof in the fridge. And then on the next day, it can be pretty much baked straight from the fridge. So the cold proofing method is the perfect choice for your breakfast bakes. You can bake these things while the coffee is brewing. Having freshly baked bread in the morning, that's one of the best things that could happen. And these cheesy buns will make a really good breakfast. So here's what we need to make them: some white bread flour, water, yeast, salt, a whole egg, some butter, and some grated cheese. I'm using Gouda, but you can use any cheese that you like. We'll need some more grated cheese for topping and another egg for glazing. Not many very ingredients in these little things. As for the equipment, we need a tray with some non-stick paper, a bowl, scales, a dough scraper, a temperature probe, and a brush. The basics. If you watch this channel, you already have all those things. Right, let's get on to mixing the dough. My kitchen was pretty cool, so I used slightly warmer water this time, at around 25 degrees Celsius or 77 degrees Fahrenheit. Right, grab a large bowl, pour in the water, add the yeast, the salt, the egg, the melted butter, and the grated cheese. Then mix it all up. You want to dissolve the salt and yeast completely. And then finally add the flour, grab your dough scraper, and mix it to a dough. This recipe is another remake of one of my old recipes. It's been a couple of years since I posted the old one. My baking style has changed since then, so it was time for an update. Obviously now, we'll be making this without kneading. I've also changed a couple of things in formula to make it easier to handle, and I've reduced the amount of dough. The previous recipe made 8 rolls, this one makes 6. A lot of you do like my small batch recipes, and I can only eat so much bread myself. You can of course double the recipe to make 12 buns if you like, or scale it down even further to make fewer buns. It's up to you. Now, like I mentioned earlier, you can use any cheese that you want, but I can't guarantee the crispiness of the topping if you're going to use a different type of cheese. The top crust of these buns is super crunchy, which is probably my favorite part. I don't think I've ever made something this crunchy before, and I haven't tried it with a different type of cheese, so I'm not sure how well it will work. But if you do decide to try it, let me know how it works out. Okay, the dough is fully mixed. Let's cover it up and leave it to ferment for 40 minutes. If your dough turned out slightly warmer, you may reduce it to 30 minutes. This is the middle point of the bulk fermentation, so now we need to give the dough a fold. It is slightly sticky, so I suggest wetting your hands with water. To perform the fold, release the dough from the bowl, pick it up in your hands, and then fold the sides down and push them back up into the middle. Do this whilst turning the dough. It's like a performing fold on the table, but upside down. Once the dough ball feels nice and tight, place it back into the bowl and let it ferment for another 30 to 40 minutes. It should start puffing up now. After the bulk fermentation is over, weigh your dough and divide it into 6 equal pieces, and then shape the dough pieces into balls. The whole process from mixing the dough to placing the shaped buns in the fridge for the cold proof will take no more than 1.5 hours. Of course, you're spending most of the time just waiting. That's why this is a perfect weekday bake. Come home from work, mix up the dough, leave it to sit around, give it a fold, then divide it, shape it, and pop it in the fridge ready for the next morning. Okay, I've divided my dough, now I need to shape it. We have done this a million times before. Take a piece of dough, flatten it out, fold the edge over the middle whilst going around a circle to reach the point where you started. Then flip it smooth side up, tighten it against stable. Finally, pick it up and pinch the seam together at the bottom. Folding and pre-shaping are very similar steps. The final shaping step this time will be slightly different from what we're used to. So here's what you want to do. After pre-shaping the dough balls, place them on a non-stick paper lined baking tray and then leave them to rest for 15 minutes to let the gluten relax. Now we can perform the final shaping, which only involves flattening the dough balls. Dip your hand in some flour and then use it to flatten the dough balls into little discs. The main reason why I do this is to prevent the cheese from sliding off. You don't have to flatten them as much as I did. If you want, you can make them slightly narrower and taller, it's up to you. I wanted to make them nice and wide, so I have more real estate to cover with fillings. After flattening the dough balls, we'll give them a double egg glaze. So grab your egg wash, brush your little pucks once, then leave them to dry for 5 minutes and then brush them again. The egg wash will of course be covered with cheese, so in this case the double glaze doesn't really serve much of a purpose. I simply wanted to get the most out of that egg. Okay, after the second glaze, or the first one, depends what you go for, take your grated cheese and distribute it evenly between the pucks. If you want to eat these cheesy buns on the same day, all you need to do is top them with cheese, leave them to proof, and then bake them on the same day. The final proof at room temperature should not take more than 1 hour to 1 hour and a half. But I want these things tomorrow for breakfast. And if you're going for the breakfast bake, after topping them with cheese, cover them up and pop them in the fridge for the long cold proof. 12 hours will be fine, but you can leave them in there for 24 if you want to. And if you're too busy or you forget about them, they'll be still fine on the following day. Now, to get the best rise and a nice even bake, we'll leave them to sit out at room temperature for 15 minutes before we bake them. You can start preheating the oven whilst they're warming up. You want to go for 180 Celsius, 355 Fahrenheit fan on, or 200 Celsius, 390 Fahrenheit fan off. It's been about 15 minutes, let's get these babies in the oven. They'll take around 20 to 25 minutes to fully bake. If your oven is like mine, it likes to bake things more on one side than the other, then you want to turn the tray around halfway through the bake. I usually have to do this when I bake rolls and stuff. Once they're all nicely golden brown all over, they're ready, so get them out of the oven. And just look at these beauties. They turned out perfect. That cheesy crust is special. I think I need to use this topping again, maybe for some sub rolls or something. I am very happy with the results here. It's another successful updated recipe. You know, I'm all about efficiency. I try to make things as simple and easy as possible. And I don't think that this recipe could be made any easier. And the results that you will get in relation to the effort that you put in is almost unfair. It's like it shouldn't be this easy to make this type of bread. But if you have followed this channel for a while, you'll know that bread making is one of the easiest things in the world. Kneading is a total waste of time and energy in my opinion. And if you're not convinced, click on any of my videos from the last 2 years. Cold fermentation is the superior bread making method, in my opinion. There's a whole playlist dedicated to cold fermentation on my channel. Most recipes use the cold bulk fermentation method, but some of them are cold proof like this one. Of course, it's not about recipes, it's all about the principles. You can find detailed videos explaining cold bulk fermentation and cold proofing in the Principles of Baking playlist. After watching those videos, you'll be able to convert any of your favorite recipes to be made with using those methods. It really is that easy. The same goes for not kneading. You can find a whole guide on how to eliminate that step, also in the Principles of Baking playlist. Don't forget that you can get early access to all my videos by clicking the join button on my channel. And if you have watched this far, please click that like button. It really helps a lot. So what do you think of this recipe? What do you think of the cold proofing method? Have you tried it before? Let me know down in the comments. If you want some videos like this one, click over here. Subscribe to the channel, click right here. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.